Basketball fans anywhere, basketball fans everywhere. Appreciate everybody for joining the show. Episode number 103 of what we call the best, the most entertaining, the most informational, and the most educational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast. That's Tate's Take. Find it anywhere you find your favorite podcast, streaming live on Twitter as well as on YouTube, streaming live as well on Facebook. Um, Check us out on Spreaker, Red Circle, like a little bit of anywhere and everywhere. iTunes, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody where they can find it at. And definitely gonna talk about some college basketball. I've told quite a few people that we've got 3 weeks. God forbid. I don't think I can deal with another 3 weeks of football. 3 games left of football before we start getting into the meat and potatoes, the nuts and bolts of college basketball. Expecting for the phone to be ringing quite a bit after that time and all the way up through March Madness. So, don't wait until March to be trying to figure out, all right, who are these teams? Who are these programs? Who are these players? Like, get your fix right here, right now. And I'm going to give you that opportunity to do so as I get ready to bring in who I can now call a friend, I guess a colleague. I don't know if that's fair to say, but definitely a very knowledgeable person when it comes to college basketball. And y'all know me. There's very few people I feel like, not an arrogant thing, but just I feel like, yes, Colby Dant, I am in my robe, so I'm at home, I'm relaxing, I'm feeling good, I'm comfortable, if you will. But just for me that I can talk to about college basketball and go on and on and on. I know that we only got somewhere right around 20 minutes to do this, but nonetheless, I had to get ready to bring my dude up in here because I know that he can keep up with a lot of those conversations with me. And we're all about educating the people in the locker room right now. Colby Dant, college basketball writer, analyst, podcast host. Tell you guys how to go about making some money on the gambling tip, all of that good stuff. Catch him on the social media tip at the Kobe D. There's at the Kobe D. Kobe, you look a little bit, you got the hoodie on, so you look relaxed. Not quite as relaxed as me.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Ric Flair thing going on, man. Coming out to the square circle, intercontinental champion. Throw some of that, but do the LeBron, throw the dust in the air. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking a little scruffy, man. I'll be honest. I was on the sidelines. I had some flu in the past week, so I couldn't even get my haircut. I'm looking like I don't know. I need to go out and get a haircut. You know. But
Yeah, me
you
me
in the
too. Me
robe.
too. Me too, man. Me too. I need a haircut too.
I appreciate you having me on, though, man. Excited to talk college basketball. It's one of our favorite things on the planet. I feel like college hoops. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I kind of want to get into, we're just going to touch around a little bit on terms of the teams within the top 25. Speaking of, you got a team that's what is it either number one for the first time in school history or number one since I've been born? I can say that much for sure. The
No,
Auburn Tigers, obviously led by Bruce Pearl. Go ahead, what's that?
no. The first time in school history. It's the second time that's happened this year. As Purdue Boilermakers got that, and then about 3 days later, Rutgers
Yeah,
and Ron Harper Jr. had something to say about that. And by the way, that almost happened to the Auburn Tigers
I
against
know.
Quanzo Martin's Missouri Tiger squad
Mizzou.
the other night. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's been a fun season so far, considering the top spots in the country, and you kind of have this revolving door, I should say, of teams that, hey, I'm the best. No,
yeah.
you're not. Hey, I'm the best.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's funny you say that because like I feel like that's what we've been getting over the course of the last like 3 or 4 seasons, maybe, where you haven't had to wait until March to get some madness. Like a couple years ago, we saw Evansville take down Kentucky, and I think Stephen F. Austin went into Duke, and it's just like, you know, this team's ranked number one this week, and then they barely hold on to it for 24 to 48 hours, and then they lose, and then next thing you know, Monday there's a new team, and it's like that just keeps happening over and over. We've seen number one teams, whether it's Duke this year or, Gonzaga this year, Purdue, like you just said. Now you got Auburn, like, so it's just Baylor. I mean, it's crazy to see it the way that we have. Just kind of want to get your take on Auburn, like, as we start talking about some of the contenders, pretenders, different teams like that, like, where do you put Auburn? Because as well as they've been playing, they're on like a crazy, ridiculous winning streak. I don't know if it's 12 or somewhere between 12 and 15. I think it's up to 15 now at this point, games that they've won consecutively. But there's just something about that. Maybe it's just me reading too much the name on the front of the jersey or something. It still says Auburn. And I'm like, I just don't know. Contend for a Final Four, fine. And they've done that before recently.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure when we start talking about cutting down nets and, standing on the podium listening to one shining moment. I'm not sure I feel that way. What says you?
I think I agree with you. I mean, I'll say this: they're extremely talented, extremely talented. Jabari Smith, might be the top pick in the draft, but I'm the same way as you. And sometimes I feel like, I do think college basketball has been getting better as a overall sport. I feel like this is the best season we've had in some time as far as contenders and deep rosters. And Auburn's one of these teams where I feel like, yeah, okay, they're a great story right now, but can I trust it, in March? Look, Bruce Pearl's a good coach. I get it. There's he's got a checkered past depending on who you ask, but Jabari Smith, Wendell Green, the transfer Walker Kessler, I think they've really been I think just a fun team to watch, but also they're talented. They are legit talented. And I still am a skeptic. If I had to bet, I would bet against them being in the national championship. I'd probably bet against them being in the Final Four. However, though, from a talent perspective, wouldn't shock me.
Sure. And that being a team that, obviously shoots a lot of threes at a really high clip too, and obviously got some bigs up front between Kessler, who's a transfer from North Carolina, Jabari Smith, who's originally from Atlanta and a true freshman there as well. Wendell Green from my neck of the woods up in the Midwest. Not a lot of people saw that one coming either. And we talk about Bruce Pearl, who's made these stops, whether it be from what was it, like somewhere in Indiana at one point in time where he started. I don't know if that was at Indiana State.
He was at Milwaukee at one point.
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. It wasn't Indiana State. It was a D2 school or NAIA or something. And then Wisconsin, Milwaukee with Joe Tucker and those guys. And then obviously went over to Tennessee, got up to being number one in the country at that point. Now at Auburn, so all this stuff. Then you got this program that is definitely either in the second or third tier, I would imagine, amongst those that are historically some of the better ones in terms of blue bloods in the country. Again, second or third tier, probably being the Louisville Cardinals, where they have a new coach. That they've been in some hot water recently. Bruce Pearl lives in hot water, boiling, piping hot probably. I don't know. Everything I'm hearing on all accounts is like he's the front runner. I don't know if he wants the job. Obviously, he's going to say he's focused on the season and the group of guys and ... But do you like that fit? And if you do or don't, who are some of the candidates that you personally feel like would be fitting for the Cards?
I mean, I think they're at a crossroads. The Louisville athletic department. They have this checkered past, whether it was Chris Mack. I like Chris Mack, but I mean, he was just involved in a scandal himself about a year ago with his own assistant coach and former head coach. It was a really crazy story, but extortion. I mean, then the Rick Pitino stuff going on there. I mean, and then also Bobby Petrino in the Louisville football program. The athletic director bailed out of town. I mean, it seems like it's really even you can even take it to Papa John's racist remarks. They used to be the Papa John Stadium,
That's
they used to be getting a ton of Papa John money. I don't know if Shaq's giving them any money now. It seems like Shaq's deal now, but I think they're at a crossroads of is that their identity? Bruce Pearl is a guy that has had a checkered past, but now with the NIL, it's legal. So
yeah.
Do they want to go that route, or do they want to go, squeaky clean image? You know what I mean? I think they're at that crossroad. I think personally Louisville should be who they are, and I think what they are is they're an SEC team that isn't in the SEC, and I think that is a team that, hey, it's like Al Davis, just win, baby. All right, because that's who they are. I think that's who they've always been. I think they're a sleeping giant with the NIL and being in a decently big city. with a huge basketball culture in that state. So I think they should go after Bruce Pearl. Sure. I mean, I know that there's speculation. People, I mean, I feel like every job that comes open in college basketball, hey, Billy Donovan's going to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bulls are a playoff team right now. Why?
Yeah.
Why would he go
Yeah.
there?
For what? Yeah.
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 The recruiting grind is brutal. The transfer portal is brutal right now. You're recruiting. Sure. I've heard, I mean, whether it's, I cover college football and college basketball specifically. I mean, I cover a lot more, but I mean, those two sports all the time. And it's a year-round job now. The transfer portal, you're always recruiting. So, I mean, I don't know why Billy Donovan would do that unless it was just a gigantic amount of money. But I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard the other names, Nate Oates, Steve Forbes is doing a great job with Wake Forest.
Wake Forest. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw one out there that I think would be very interesting, and I'm surprised they haven't covered it yet, but I could actually see them outbidding. See, with Auburn does have endless money. I think Auburn can actually probably match what Louisville will offer. Now, then it'll be up to Pearl. Would he rather be at Louisville? Who knows? But I'm going to throw out Eric Musselman. I think Eric Musselman could be one, and I think the shoe fits.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's, a young, somewhat young, enthusiastic coach. Mm-hmm. I think, this is a guy that loves the transfer portal. If you've watched, any Arkansas basketball the past 2 years, or even back at Nevada, I think that's one that might be off the radar that makes sense to me if Bruce Pearl turns it down. I've heard other names too. I don't know how much I'll buy into the. I heard someone say John Beilein, and he's like 70. To me, look, nothing against John Beilein. I think he's a good basketball coach, but if you're trying to get out of the weeds from an athletic department and you're going for John Beilein, God bless you. All right, God bless you, because hey,
seriously,
maybe there's a school out there that John Beilein fits. I mean, if you're going to call John Beilein, why not call Kelvin Sampson?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I can definitely
that would make way more sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially what Kelvin Sampson's been able to do, especially this year. They've only lost 2 games. Not that they play in anything beyond a mid-major conference by any stretch of the imagination, which we will get into some of that here in just a couple minutes, because I got to ask you about Penny Hardaway. It's only right. But nonetheless, maybe even a Mike Boynton from Oklahoma State, who I think has done a really good job over there. I mean, the thing about them is they tend to win games that I'm like, how in the world did they win a game like that? But then there's also games I'm like, how in the world did they lose a game like that? You know what I mean? So they're just one of those programs. But I don't know. We'll get away from the Bruce Pearl and the Auburn stuff here for a second. But it just seems like hot water Bruce Pearl, hot water Louisville. It's kind of somewhat sounds like a match made in heaven to an extent. Moving forward, there's the number 2 team in the country. Okay, was just number 1 again. Didn't take a loss. I don't anticipate taking a loss, but I do anticipate being the number 1 overall seed. Probably won't surprise anybody when you take a look at their Sarah Lee, Duncan Hines, Betty Crocker schedule that they have in conference, being the Gonzaga Bulldogs. How is there something that I don't know how much you believe in Gonzaga? Of course, that's my question, but even more so, if you don't, I don't know what last year proved or didn't prove to you about Gonzaga. People are going to be really nervous about putting them on their bracket to win a national championship because of their lack of success to be able to do it, no matter the fact that they've gotten there twice in the last handful of years or so. I am one of those people, Colby. I don't know if you could talk me off the ledge or not. In a year like this, like, you have to do it. But I felt that way last year and then a couple years prior. Is there something what do they have to do to like sell you, or are you sold on them being able to win it this year?
I mean, I think they can, it depending on the matchup. I mean, they got there, they played a Baylor team that had just been at an unbelievable level. I was all over that when I turned in my bracket last year. I had Baylor beating Gonzaga. So I was a skeptic, but I thought Gonzaga's path was mighty easy last year. So if you can get the right path, I think they're one of a handful of teams that I think should be, a contender for the Final Four. And then when you get there, if you're playing, we've seen this in years past. Loyola Chicago makes it, no disrespect to the Ramblers. I love what their program is, but they don't have the same level of talent as Gonzaga. So if you were to get there and play Gonzaga, Gonzaga would then have a kind of a free pass to the NCAA tournament, and then all you got to do is win a game. I'm like you, though. I am a bit of a skeptic, but at the same time, I'll say this: I think the WCC is as good as I've ever seen it this year. I know normally it's a cream puff conference, but I think the addition of BYU, and by the way, they're leaving in a year to the Big 12, but I think Mark Pope has done a great job with that program, former Kentucky Wildcat Mark Pope, and I think San Francisco and St. Mary's they're always a decent basketball program, but I actually think they're even better this year. So I think they're a little bit more battle tested, which might help out come the NCAA tournament. But gun to my head, I'm still a skeptic. I know Chet Holmgren, the star freshman, he's putting up good numbers, but I still, at the end of the day, a little bit of a skeptic. But
Sure.
Final Four, I can totally see a Final Four. I mean, but to win it all, I would probably bet against it. But stranger things have happened. I think the matchups, you remember the UVA Texas Tech national championship? I think a lot of that had to deal with matchups. So if you can get the right matchups, wouldn't shock me. But and Drew Timme, Mark Few, that's been a long time coming. So maybe this is their year. But I'll still until I see a bracket, I don't have them winning the national championship. So I think I'm on board with you.
No, for sure. And I don't know if in some cases, if they're the best team out west, even sometimes. I don't know. You got some really good teams that's been playing well. That kind of leads us into, Arizona, who's been playing really well. Obviously, just took a very disappointing and convincing loss to UCLA on the road. We're going to get UCLA within the next couple of days here, so that'll be really interesting to see as well. But no, I definitely see what you're saying as far as Gonzaga. I'm just going to be the guy that's just never going to pick them on my bracket again. I mean, you have to show me. You're going to have to go out there, put in the work, do what you have to do. The bench is certainly going to have to get a little bit longer for Gonzaga. Drew Timme's not going to be able to afford to be in foul trouble. I just think that you do have, some issues there. I think just one of the problems that I see with Gonzaga is like, did they beef up the non-conference schedule? Absolutely. Did they have to do that? Absolutely. Did they come away with some wins? They beat Zion, them gave them their first loss out in Maui, and just have played some really good teams. Texas earlier this year, even though it's not looking so good. This is probably not the best start that Chris Beard was probably looking for, but also played a tough. Also, okay, there we go. Also played, a really tough team in Duke as well.